Good evening, Shabbat Shalom. It is such a pleasure to be together on this bright, beautiful Pittsburgh evening. Although, did anybody wake up early this morning and you went outside maybe a little early and realized it was just a little bit more chilly than you were expecting? And preseason football games and back-to-school sales have started. And I'm not quite ready to say goodbye to summer. But we're getting closer to the start of the school year. We are getting closer to the high holidays, which puts a little fear in your heart if you have sermons still to write. And we're getting closer to our first bar mitzvah of the year, as it is a pleasure to welcome members of the most intimate and the extended Leventhal family to be with us in celebration this Shabbat. And it is also a pleasure to welcome back our student Cantor Sierra Fox. It is a pleasure to have you joining us for another year after a wonderful summer, we hope, in Israel, and then the opportunity to travel. We're excited to welcome you back to Pittsburgh as you lead us in song and prayer for another year. Welcome. Let's start our service this evening on page 10. Prayer books can be found under your seats.
The pleasure is absolutely all mine. We begin with Hine Matov, just singing about how good it truly is for us to be together. I've been waiting many months to be back, and it truly is a joy. Hine Matov u'manayim, Shabbat
Turn back in our prayer books to page 2 for the kindling of our Shabbat lights. It's my pleasure to invite forward Aaron and family. Zoe, Michael, Sarah, David, would you join us as together we join on page 2? Go for it, man. Congratulations, Mom and Dad, brother and sister. You guys are welcome to be seated. Aaron, would you grab that Kiddush cup as we turn in our prayer book to page 5? And Aaron, can I bring you over here so you're a little bit closer to the microphone as I invite everyone to please rise as we join together on page 5.
Yeah. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher hishanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho
You are welcome to be seated.
Now, I know today is one of the most important holidays, maybe the most important holiday of the Jewish year, Shabbat, which is the most important holiday, but it is also another holiday coming to a close today, Tu B'Av, the 15th of the month of Av, which is a minor holiday in the Jewish calendar, but a holiday that celebrates love. We talk about it as Jewish Valentine's Day. And so in honor of that, I'd love to bring in a text from Shir HaShirim. Using the music of Shir HaShirim is something that's done very frequently in Kabbalat Shabbat, especially in Israel. And so we can turn again to pages 10 and 11, starting on page 11 with Dodi Li, and then we'll finish up this section of love with Yedid Nefesh, about how we are longing for the love that Shabbat brings. Dodi
If you are a fellow pet owner, you know the unbridled love that our pets sometimes show us when we first arrive home. Okay, so if you're a cat owner, you may be more familiar with indifference. But if you're a dog owner, you know that they are likely to come bounding down the steps, bounding to the door to greet you when you come in. It is a pure expression of love. And while I can't imagine the sages of old appreciate the parallel as we turn to page 20 and 21 in our prayer books, we can imagine them expressing the same type of love as they would go out to greet the setting sun, as they would go out to greet Shabbat with that sense of love in their hearts, with that sense of unbridled joy for the day that has come. We continue as they did. They may not have been on page 20, but at least with the words they were offering on page 20 and 21 with Lecha Dodi.
Lecha Dodi, Likrat Kala, B'nei Shabbat, Nekavela. Lecha Dodi, Likrat Kala, B'nei Shabbat, Nekavela. Shamor v'zachor v'diburecha, Hishmianu el ham-yuchad, Adonai echad u'shmo echad, Shem u'tiferet v'litila. Lecha Dodi, Likrat Kala, B'nei Shabbat, Nekavela. Lecha Dodi, Likrat Kala, B'nei Shabbat, Nekavela. Likrat Shabbat, Lechu v'necha, Ki mekor haveracha, Perosh mikedem nesucha, Sov ma'aseh v'mashavat tefillah. Lecha Dodi, Likrat Kala, B'nei Shabbat, Nekavela. Lecha Dodi, Likrat Kala, B'nei Shabbat, Nekavela. Hitoreri, hitoreri, Ki ba'orech u'mi'ori, Uri uri shir daveri, Kivod Adonai alayich nigla. Lecha Dodi, Likrat Kala, B'nei Shabbat, Nekavela. Lecha Dodi, Likrat Kala, B'nei Shabbat, Nekavela.
I invite you to rise if it's comfortable.
Oi v'shalom, ateret bala, Gam b'simcha u'b'tzola, Tolchem unei am segula, Boi hala, boi hala.
while you are up or those around you are up anyway, this is a wonderful opportunity to turn to the people around you to wish them a Shabbat Shalom, that we might enter into sacred community this evening. And I invite you to find your seats again when you are ready as we continue our welcoming, continue our greeting, welcoming God's ministering angels, page 24.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharei, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malchei HaMlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Bochem L'Shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malchei HaMlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruchuni L'Shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malchei HaMlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Seitchem L'Shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malchei HaMlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
And continuing on the next page with our Chatzi Kaddish.
Yitkadal, Yitkadash, Shemei Rabbah. Ve'alma divrach Yerutei v'yamlich malchutei. V'chai echad u'vyom echad. U'chayet et chol Beit Yisrael. Bagala, bagala, u'bizman kariv. V'yimeru, amen. Yehei Shmei Rabbah mevarach, le'alam u'lalmei almaya. Yitbarach, Yitbarach, v'yishtabach, v'yitpa'ar, v'yitromam, v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar, v'yitaleh, v'yithalal, Shemei dekudesha b'richu, le'elam min kol birchata v'shirata, tush birchata v'nechemata, zamiran ve'alma, v'yimeru, amen.
We continue with our call to prayer, the Baruch Hu, found on page 28.
Please rise.
Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed.
And would you join us on the English on the bottom of page 30? Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, ruler of the universe, who speaks the evening into being, skillfully opens the gates, thoughtfully alters the time and changes the seasons, and arranges the stars in their heavenly courses according to plan. You are creator of day and night, rolling light away from darkness and darkness from light, transforming day into night and distinguishing one from the other. Adonai Tzivaot is your name. Ever-living God, may you reign continually over us into eternity. Blessed are you, Adonai, who brings on the evening. Baruch atah Adonai, hama'ariv aravim. And on the bottom of page 33, wisdom and wonder, passion and instruction, story and symbol. All these things your Torah gives to us, and the more we devote ourselves to it, the more it grows and gives. What could be a truer token of your abiding love than this holiest of your works and the living language that gives it form? Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael. As we continue on pages 34 and 35, it is my pleasure to invite forward as a preview of coming attractions Aaron Leventhal to lead us in these next prayers of our service.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed.
You are welcome to be seated as we continue on page 36.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבבך. ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם, בשבתך בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם להיות על ידך, והיו לטוטפות בעיניך. וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, ואתם קדושים אלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתיכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
I invite you to turn in your prayer books to page 40, words of Mi Chamocha on the top of the page.
מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נטר בקודש, נורא תהילות עושה פלא, נורא תהילות עושה פלא, מלכותך ראו בניך, בוקי הים, לפני משה ומרים, זה אלי ענו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך, אדוני ימלוך, לעולם ועד. ונאמר כי פדה אדוני את יעקב, וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו. ברוך אתה אדוני, Ga'al Yisrael.
If you were with us last Shabbat, you heard me use my pulpit to cry out religious extremism and the violence that it sometimes breeds. Last time I was talking about members within the Jewish community. And yet this day our hearts are broken yet again, for many in our Pittsburgh Jewish community find Chautauqua their place of rest, their place of refuge. And to have a speaker, Salman Rushdie, stabbed for, we presume, his beliefs or his willing to speak about that which he feels unjust. Our hearts break. We feel the need for a shelter of peace. We pray that the time will come when enemies, illness, war, famine, and sorrow will vanish from our midst, and that we might be able to speak only of joy when Shabbat arrives each week. For all of those who are suffering from acts of violence in this world, we ask for a shelter of protection as we read together on the bottom of page 42. Grant, O God, that we lie down in peace and raise us up our guardian to life renewed. Spread over us the shelter of your peace. Guide us with your good counsel. For your name's sake, be our help. Shield and shelter us beneath the shadow of your wings. Defend us against enemies, illness, war, famine, and sorrow. Distance us from wrongdoing. For you, God, watch over us and deliver us. For you, God, are gracious and merciful. Guard our going and coming to life and peace evermore. Blessed are you, Adonai, guardian of Israel, whose shelter of peace is spread over us, over all your people Israel, and over Jerusalem. Baruch atah Adonai, haporei simchat shalom aleinu, ve'al kol amo Yisrael, ve'al Yerushalayim. We pray for a speedy healing. And yet we do hold in our hearts that hope of a better time, that joy, that love that Shabbat brings. And as we continue on page 44, we shift our mood again to recognize that Shabbat offers us that foretaste of the world to come, that little bit of better that we're trying to bring into this world. I invite you to help us bring it this evening through song.
V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat l'dorotam b'rit olam. V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat l'dorotam b'rit olam. B'ni u'vein b'nei Yisrael oti le'olam. Yehudim b'nei Yisrael, oti le'olam, v'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat l'dorotam b'rit olam. Ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai et ha-shamayim ve'et ha'aretz. Ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai et ha-shamayim ve'et ha'aretz. V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat l'dorotam b'rit olam. U'bayom hashvi'i Shabbat v'yin afash. U'bayom hashvi'i Shabbat v'yin afash. V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat l'dorotam b'rit olam. One more time. V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat l'dorotam b'rit olam.
If once is good, twice is better, and 3 times is best. Aaron, would you join us again as we turn in our prayer book, page 46 and following, for words of our Shabbat Amidah. When you find your page, I would invite you to please rise. Trade you. Give them a second. All right, they're all yours.
Adonai Sifatai Tiftach Ufi Yagid Tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol Ha'gibor v'Hanora, El Yom, Gomer Chasadim Tovim, Ve'konei Hakol, V'zocher Hasdei Avot V'imahot, U'nei Gula Livneihem, Le'man Shemo B'Ahava, Melech Ozer U'Moshiach U'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magid Avraham, V'ezrat Sarah. Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Melchayei HaKol HaTorah Ve'Oshia, Morid HaTal, Mechakel Chaim B'Chesed, Mechayei HaKol B'Rachamim Rabim, Somech Novim Ve'Rofech Olim, Umatir Asurim, Umechayem Emunato, Lishenei Avav, Bichamocha Bal Biburot, Umidom Elach, Melech Memit, Umechayem, Umatmiach Yeshua, V'ne'emad atah l'chayot hakol, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechayeh hakol. Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, U'kdoshim b'chol yom yachalalucha selah, Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh.
I invite you to continue with the traditional words of prayer, which can be found through page 62 in your prayer book, or to continue with the silent prayers that can only come from each of our own hearts. When you have finished your silent prayer this Shabbat, I invite you to be seated.
Shalom Himromav, Hu Yaseh Shalom Aleinu. Oseh Shalom Himromav, Hu Yaseh Shalom Aleinu. Oseh Shalom Himromav, Hu Yaseh Shalom Aleinu. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael. Oseh Shalom Himromav, Hu Yaseh Shalom Aleinu. Oseh Shalom Himromav, Hu Yaseh Shalom Aleinu. Oseh Shalom Himromav, Hu Yaseh Shalom Aleinu. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Ha'olam.
We turn now to page 253 in our prayer book for our Mishaberach Lecholim, as we say, Baruch Atah Adonai Rofeh HaCholim. Blessed are you, God, who brings healing to those who are ill. Blessed are you, God, who allows us to partner with you in those healing acts, bringing acts of tenderness, bringing acts of chicken soup, bringing acts of phone calls or expressions of our love to those who are ill and in need of God's healing touch and sometimes our healing presence. If there are those you are thinking of for our Mishaberach Lecholim and are comfortable sharing their names aloud, I invite you to do so at this time.
Stanley Cantor,
Iris Falcon.
Thatcher Abrams, Jeffrey Abrams, Doug McKee.
Julia Makunovich and Liliana Fernandez.
Jeff Balch,
Stu Cubey. Lil Markowitz.
Jennifer Pickles,
Baruch Atah Adonai Rofeh HaCholim. We continue page 253.
Yisheberach Avoteinu Mekor Havracha Leimoteinu. May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before
We'd spoken, Leslie, about adding an extra blind for you. Maybe we should add one to the other side so I'm not in the witness protection program up here as well. The humane treatment of animals was very, very important to Vicky. She cared a lot for the pets in her life. She frequently volunteered at the animal shelter, and she had seen enough about factory farming to want to limit the amount of meat consumed in her diet. Animal lover that she was, her friends were aghast by a recent visit to the arts and crafts store. As they were perusing the fabric aisle for ideas for a new throw that they wanted to make, Vicky exclaimed in a really excited voice, "I love fox fur." Her friends couldn't believe it. "What do you mean you love fox fur? Should a beautiful creature die for your next blanket?" they asked her. "What? No, of course not," she said. "I mean fake fur, pretend fur, fox fur." "Fox fur?" her friends asked. "Yeah, you know, F-A-U-X, fox." It's easy to fall into one of these traps. Perhaps it's a word that we're used to reading and have never pronounced. Perhaps we're learning a new language and we struggle to differentiate between sounds and letters. One need look no further than a toddler learning to say the word truck to realize how quickly misunderstandings can result from our mispronunciations. Sometimes, as kids, it can be exceedingly humorous, but other times it can be exceedingly serious indeed. One need look no further than this week's Torah portion to see how the scribes of our tradition bend over backward to avoid misunderstanding in our sacred text. Deuteronomy 6:4 contains the watchwords of our faith, Shema Yisrael, and the rabbis wanted to make sure that we paid really, really special attention to our pronunciation. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, they emphasize. Lest we mistake the dalet at the end of the word for a resh, which would be pretty easy to do. Yet doing so would be a massive theological fox pas. Belief in one God, Echad, is different than the belief in other gods, Acher, the same spelling with a resh rather than a dalet. So the ancient scribes, they saved us from ourselves, making the letter bigger, making the letter bolder, to make sure that we would enunciate it properly. This from the Torah scroll that Aaron is going to be reading tomorrow morning. When you recite these words of affirmation, when you sing this sacred text, be careful not to allow your voice to trail off before that sentence is over. Sound out that D loudly and proudly. Echad, Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, they emphasize. Hear, O Israel, the Lord is our God, the Lord is one, and we are all witnesses, Eidim, to that fact. Shabbat Shalom. We turn back in our Sidurim, back in our prayer book, to page 282. Page 282, on the bottom of the page, for words of Aleinu. When you have found your page, I would invite you to please rise.
Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, l'teit gedula leotzer b'reishit, shelo asanu kigoyei haratzot, velo osamanu k'mishpechot ha'adama, shelo samchalkinu kahem, v'gor aleinu kechol hamonav, v'anachnu korim
to be seated. As we prepare for words of Kaddish Yatom, our mourner's Kaddish, found on page 294, we remember those upon whose shoulders we stand. We mourn the recent passing of Evelyn Hausman Morris, who was laid to rest in recent days, and mark the yahrzeit, the commemoration of the passing of Sidney Amdur, Ronald H. Barish, Geraldine Berger, Harriet Burke, David Berman, Morris Chetlin, Ann Gold Cooper, Arnold Faber, Louis Goldman, Gail Goodman, Milton Gordon, Paul Green, Shirley Greenberg, Bertha Hirschfield, May Kaufman, Samuel Kindler, Gerd Leston, Victoria Levitt, Mildred Lupovitz, Martin Markovitz, Minnie Miller, Ruth Daniels Meal, Sarah Myers, Ruth Paddock, Wendy Rosenberg, Ray Rosenthal, Bernie Roth, Mimie Roth, Rose Rubin, Samuel Salute, Frida Ruth Schwartz, Edith Shapiro, Lily Shear, Elaine Tropp, Clara Udrin, Paul Uniton, Albert Vaverka, Mildred Wellens, and Ken Winograd. Uniton, Albert Vaverka, Mildred Wellens, and Ken Winograd. If there are others you are remembering this Shabbat, or if I have inadvertently mispronounced the name of a loved one, I would invite you to share their name at this time. Yehei zichronam livracha. May their memories be for us an everlasting blessing. Words of Kaddish Yatom can be found in our prayer book, page 294, and I'd invite you to rise if it's comfortable to do so. Yit gadal v'yit kadash shemei rabbah, melma divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon uvyomechon, Uchaye dechol Beit Yisrael, Ba'agala v'zman kariv v'imru, Amen. Yehei shmei rabbah mevarach le'olam u'lomei amaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yithadar v'yit'aleh v'yithalal shmei d'kudsha b'richu. Le'ela b'yinkal birchata v'shirata. Tushbehata v'nechamata, damiran v'alma v'imru, Amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'imru, Amen. Osei shalom imamav, uyasei shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'imru, Amen.
Osei shalom imromav, uyaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, ve'imru, Amen.
It is a pleasure to join together for Shabbat evening services, to get to celebrate with the Leventhal family as Aaron becomes Bar Mitzvah. It is a pleasure to get to welcome student Cantor Sierra Fox back with us. The sermon was just a play on words, nothing, but my excitement might have just been bleeding through about your arrival this week. It was unclear. And it is a pleasure, of course, to get to pray with all of you. Our final song this evening, our final prayer, page 321. We invite you to join us before we head off to a cookie and a nosh and a sharing in community.
Adon Olam Asher Malach B'terem Kol Yitzir Nivra Le'it Nasa V'cheltzo Kol Azai Melech Shemo Mikra Ve'acharei Kichlot HaKol Ve'va'ado Yimloch Nora Ve'hu Haya Ve'hu Hoveh Ve'hu Yiyeh B'tifara Ve'hu Echad Ve'ein Sheni Lehamshir Lo Lehachbira B'li Reshit B'li Tachlit Ve'lo Ha'os Ve'hamisra Ve'hu Eli Ve'chai Goli V'tzur Chavli Be'et Zara Ve'hu Nisi Umanos Li Menat Kosi Be'yom Ekra Be'yado Afkid Ruchi Be'etiv Shan Be'aira Ve'im Ruchi Geviati Adonai Li Ve'lo Ira
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.